See, I'm doing live. That's it. I did.
Got it. Thank you.
No worries, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Sundaranand Prabhu. Whenever you are ready, we can get started.
Oh, okay, sure, Mataji. Then let me share my screen. We can get started, Mataji. I'm downloading the file, so 1 minute.
Sure, Prabhu, we can wait.
Okay. Okay. I think I'll put in slideshow mode so we can get. You can all see this, okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
I'll start with the prayers.
Sure, Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone, and thanks so much for joining. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Namam Vishwapadaya Krishna Pestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desutarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining today. It's a wonderful chapter, 15th chapter of the third canto. That chapter is titled Description of the Kingdom of God. So we'll do a brief context and then dive into the chapter. There are lots of things in this chapter, but we'll touch some of them considering the time we have. I'm clicking on it. It's not going to the next page. 1 minute. Oh, went. Good. Okay. So I know last week also we covered this context briefly. So I'll cover very briefly this context. Essentially, beginning of the third canto, this whole canto started with Parikshit Maharaj asking Sukadeva Goswami about the discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. Then Sukadeva Goswami started to describe about Vidura going to pilgrimage and meeting Uddhava on the way, and then asking questions, and Uddhava, in answering those questions, he remembered about Krishna's pastimes, and he described whole pastimes of Krishna in a summary fashion. And then Uddhava directed Vidura to meet the Maitreya for further association. Then Vidura goes and meets Maitreya, and then that happens in Haridwar is described. And then rest of the 5th to 12th chapters is an elaborate description of the creation, primary creation done by the Supreme Lord, and the secondary creation done by the Lord Brahma, which are called Sarga and Visarga. And after the whole section describing the greatness of Supreme Lord like that, then some sweetness of the Supreme Lord is described, starting with the 13th chapter of this canto, where in the 13th chapter, Vidura asks about the first Manu, Swayambhu Manu, his activities. So in that context, Maitreya Muni describes first about Adivaraha or Svetavaraha, how he retrieved the yacht that fell into the Garbhodak ocean. He talks about that. And then he also describes about Neelavaraha, or also described as Raktavaraha. And in that avatara, which came later on now, Chakshusha avatara, Chakshusha Manvantara time frame, he not only lifted the yacht from Garbhodak ocean, but Supreme Lord as Varahadev, he also killed Hiranyaksha, he describes briefly. So then, now Vidura gets a doubt in the previous chapter that we discussed. Oh, can you tell me more? Who is this Hiranyaksha? Why did Hiranyaksha and Supreme Lord fight? Tell me more. Then in the last chapter, we heard how Maitreya Muni, in describing that pastime, instead of discussing directly who is he like that, he starts to go like a flashback. He remembers, oh, same question was asked by demigods to Brahma. Then what happened? What did Brahma tell? He wants to describe. But before he describes what did Brahma say, he wants to tell the context in which why the demigods went to Lord Brahma like that. In that context, we heard the last chapter last week, how Diti became pregnant by uniting with her husband Kashyap Muni at an inauspicious time. That is how the last chapter ended. In fact, the last chapter ended with Kashyap Muni telling her that she will have two sons because of conceiving at an inauspicious time. She will have two sons. They will be very demoniac. They'll cause so much disturbance to the world, and devotees and demigods like that, he describes, and sages and brahmanas like that. And then he also describes, because of her repentant behavior and her having a good position in her heart for Lord Shiva, like that few things he describes. And she also will have a grandson who is Prahlad Maharaj, who will become a great devotee. So what relieves her little bit in the last chapter end was that Kashyap Muni describes, even though the two sons will be very demoniac, they will be killed by the Supreme Lord. That is one thing that helps her to little bit calm down. Another thing is that she will have a grandson who is a great devotee of Supreme Lord like that. Now that's how the last chapter ended. Now this chapter will discuss a brief overview, and then we'll dive into each section, and then we'll come back to the overview finally. Basically, in this chapter, remember last chapter, the Diti was pregnant at that time, and the prediction was that two children will be born, two demonic children will be born. So the two demonic children are still in the womb. So now, and because of that, the whole universe becomes dark because of the influence of the children in the womb. That's why demigods go to approach Brahma, and demigods glorify Lord Brahma. They glorify as if like he's a Supreme Lord, like that, because he's a representative of Supreme Lord. And then they request him, can you please solve this problem of darkness in the world, like that. That is the first section. And then Brahma wants to describe why who are the children in the womb of Mother Diti. To describe that, he first describes the Vaikuntha planet, Vaikuntha Loka. That's a beautiful section of this chapter, where we'll hear about Vaikuntha planet descriptions. And then he describes how his children, his own sons, 4 Kumaras, were cursed by Jaya and Vijaya, who were the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha Loka one time, at the 7th gate of Vaikuntha. Then he describes how the Supreme Lord personally arrives, and he gave darshana to the 4 Kumaras, like that. And then in that context, he describes the beauty of the Supreme Lord nicely. And then finally, Kumaras, having become devotees of Supreme Lord, they offer beautiful prayers to Supreme Lord. That is the last section. So this is how the storyline will go. So we'll dive into each section along with the lessons we can learn from the section, like that. So now the first section is Diti was having 2 sons in her womb. What she did is, when she understood that these sons were troubled demigods if they come out, and the sons would be killed by the Lord because of these 2 worries she has. One worry is a selfless worry. She's thinking about demigods should not be troubled, like that. And the worry is selfish worry. That means my son should not be killed yet, like that. With those 2 reasons, she kept the babies in her womb for about 100 years is described. So now, because that demons were there in her womb, like that, there was a darkness spread throughout the universe in all directions is described. Then demigods, they cannot do any activities. We can imagine, if there's no day and night, everything is dark all the time, night time, we cannot do any of our works, right? Like that, demigods cannot do any of their functions. So demigods, what they do? They glorify Brahma in several ways. They glorify Brahma as if they're speaking to Supreme Lord. They say, you are the origin of the universe. You are the supreme person who knows everything. Like that, they glorify him. And Prabhupada clarifies the purport for our benefit that they're glorifying Brahma like that because Brahma is in a position of a proper representative of Supreme Lord as a devotee and properly representing Supreme Lord. That's why they're glorifying him in equal footing, in equal position like the Supreme Lord, like that. Then, after glorifying Brahma, they place a request before him. Can you please solve the current problem of the darkness in all directions, like that? So this is a simple lesson for us, that whenever we go before our Supreme Lord Krishna to pray before him, normally 3 main components are described. One main component is paying obeisances before Supreme Lord. Second component is glorifying him, appreciating him, appreciating his greatness as Supreme Lord, appreciating his kindness on us in so many ways in our life. Like that, we express our gratitude first. And then after that, if you so desire, we can also place our request. The request component is not important, but the glorification, appreciation, sharing gratitude is important. Why is important? It is that places our heart in a right mood when we go before the superior or Supreme Lord, like that. Number one. And other thing is that will place us in the right position. He is the Supreme Lord. I am here. That position is very clear, like that. And then when we understand the greatness of Supreme Lord, when we appreciate the greatness of Supreme Lord, then we can ask anything in that mood of request. And of course, our acharyas indicate that whenever we ask something Supreme Lord, the best policy we can ask is, if you so desire, we can add either in the beginning or in the end. Why that is important? Because we have only a smallest picture. Normally, people who don't know spirituality, they have a very narrow picture of life. They think just being happy right now is best. Or some people think being happy for the next 40 years is best, like that. But devotees, as practicing devotees, we know we want to be happy for eternal life. We don't get distracted by small happiness here, small happiness there, like that. We want to be permanently happy in service of Krishna, because we know that is our natural position for us. So even though we have a bigger picture and bigger aspirations compared to the non-devotees who may not have this knowledge, who may not have the good fortune of this knowledge, even though we might have a bigger picture, still our picture is not bigger than the Supreme Lord. And we don't have the cognition or understanding of what is the best thing for us. Whereas Supreme Lord knows exactly what is the best thing for us in terms of our ultimate goal and our ultimate aspiration to be situated in pure devotion service. For that, what is the best thing to happen, the sequence of events, he exactly knows that. We don't know that. Sometimes we think, oh, if I get this car problem fixed, that's the best thing that can happen in my life. And then I can do devotion service nicely, because I can go to temple service right now, because if the car is fixed. Our thinking is like that. Still, that's the better thinking. We're thinking car should be fixed for a service of the Lord. But still, Krishna knows if the car is not fixed, maybe we'll get more absorbed in our chanting, more absorbed in some other seva, which is more essential for us to grow in devotion service right now. That Krishna only knows. So that is why, because we may not know what exactly is needed for us to grow in our devotion service for the ultimate goal, we leave that decision to Krishna. We leave that decision to Krishna. That is one understanding. Why we say, if you so desire, please give me this. If you don't desire, please give me this, like that. One reason. Second reason is, sometimes by getting that whatever we want, it might actually inhibit us in our devotional service also. So that's also not a good thing, because we want to grow in devotional service, not get inhibited in devotional service like that. So that is why we ask Krishna, if you so desire. Then how can we have the confidence to ask Krishna, what do you want, you give me. If you so desire, you give me. How can we get that confidence? By reading Shastra, by hearing from Guru and Sadhu, we get that faith that Krishna is my best well-wisher in the world. He will do the best thing for me. No matter what circumstance, it appears my job is going away, it appears my car is giving problem, it appears my help is going away, but still Krishna will remain as my best friend. How is the best friend? He wants to make sure I'm eternally happy soon, very soon. So even if short term I'll get health problem, short term I get relationship problem, short term I get car problem, doesn't matter. But long term, he'll make sure I'm going to closer to him sooner. That's how we orchestrate things in our life, even utilizing the little karma that we have also to purify us only, to get us closer to Krishna only, because he's our best well-wisher. How do we cultivate this understanding? We talked about one thing, which is by reading Shastra regularly, by hearing from Guru and Guru and Sadhu, like that, right? That's one aspect. Second aspect is by contemplating in our own life. For example, many of us can see when we're going through big trouble, we cannot understand how that is beneficial to us, how that can bring some benefit to us. Not everything will bring benefit right away for us. But when we look back at our life, what happened in our life, what caused us to get connected to the devotees, what caused us to go to temple, what caused us to chant very, very deeply, very attentively, helplessly calling out to Krishna, what caused us to cry before Krishna and chant, what caused us to cry before Krishna and pray sincerely. When we analyze that, that is the time when we had some difficult circumstance that we cannot do anything about, our family members cannot do anything about, our friends cannot do anything about. Oh, many of us, there are very few people who can take shelter of Krishna positively, helplessly, when everything is going nicely. But many of us have the tendency that only when nobody can help us, then only we look at the God helplessly, like that. So when we analyze those situations and how we take shelter of Krishna in those situations, we'll understand how much advancement we quickly made during the circumstances like that. Then we'll appreciate that Krishna is our best well-wisher like that. Of course, to be in a position like that, in a difficult circumstances, taking shelter of Krishna also requires some piety, also requires some devotee association, also requires some positive understandings regularly cultivated by Shravanam and Kirtanam. So by regularly hearing, we can get the spiritual strength to take shelter of Krishna even during the circumstances like that. Otherwise, people have the other option, which is checking out. They say, why did Krishna do like this? I'm chanting 16 rounds every day. Krishna should not give this problem. I will stop chanting. I will stop going to temple. I'll get out of here. That is the other direction we go. But if you do proper sadhana and hear regularly and cultivate the understanding and appreciation that Krishna is doing so many things for me in my life, not only the basic needs for us, if you analyze so many things is facilitating so that we can grow in bhakti, then we'll develop that strong faith in Krishna as a well-wisher, and then we can take shelter of him like that. So that's the other thing we can learn from here about the prayer aspect. Now, demigods requested Brahma to solve the problem of darkness. That is where the first section ends. Now, going to the second section, then after the demigods prayed to Lord Brahma starts to narrate the pastime of Jaya Vijaya being cursed by Kumaras. So why did he tell that? Because he wants to tell that these Jaya Vijaya in the Vaikuntha Loka, they are the ones who took birth, who are in the womb of Diti right now as two demons like that. That's where he's going with this pastime. But that will not come into till the end of this chapter. It's going in next few chapters are this pastime, full pastime. So in this chapter, he's talking about the circumstances that led for the cursing of Jaya and Vijaya, the circumstances where Supreme Lord personally comes, how he nicely deals with his devotees. We'll see that also in this chapter. So in this section, so he starts to describe, okay, you know, my four sons were personally born from my own mind. There are four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara. They sometimes travel throughout the material and spiritual skies without any definite desire. In the purport, Sri Prabhupada compares them like a children. Children might roam here, might go here, go to this room, this home, that home. Especially in India, we see they go to neighbor's home. Generally, people will allow children to go here and there. They don't say, okay, why did you come to our home? Go out of here. They don't usually say, especially in India, like that. So Prabhupada compares to them as the small children like that. They didn't have a specific purpose. They were just going around like that. Like that it feels like. But in this case, in the later verses and purport is clear, it's clarified that they had a purpose in this case. What purpose? They were eager with a desire to see the Supreme Lord, it seems. That was the purpose they had. So now, so they were going here and there. And then finally, once it has so happened, they came to Vaikuntha Loka. So now, the moment Brahma said the word Vaikuntha, oh, Kumaras came to Vaikuntha Loka, now he puts a pause there. And now he wants to describe about Vaikuntha Loka. So he describes the different glories of Vaikuntha Loka and then resumes the pastime. What happened after Kumaras went to Vaikuntha Loka? So the next section will talk about Vaikuntha Loka. So here it's described, material world is full of cares and anxieties. Why? Because we have different kinds of problems, 4 problems of life: birth, death, old age, and disease. And we also have threefold miseries, right? Misery is caused by one's own body and mind. Misery is caused by other living entities. Misery is caused by natural disturbances like too much heat, too much cold, cyclones, floods, earthquakes, these kind of things. So all these problems are there in the material world. Whereas Vaikuntha, these problems are not there. Birth, death, old age, and disease are not there. That is why Vaikuntha means place that is free of anxieties. Kunta means anxiety. Vai means no, like that. No anxiety. Vaikuntha means free from all anxieties, like that. So the residents of Vaikuntha are free from all anxieties. Prabhupada writes in the purport to clarify for us. That's why there's no question of birth, death, old age, and diseases. in the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. So I'll briefly mention, many of you must already know, but it is brief revision for many of you. Where we are is on the middle planetary system in the whole universe structure. And on top of the Earth planetary system, Bhumandala is called, there are other 6 higher planetary systems we know. Bhuvar, Svargaloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, Satyaloka, or Brahmaloka also is called. These are 6 planetary systems. They are all within the material universe only, but they are higher than the earthly planetary systems. They are more opulent than earthly planetary system. Like that we know. Now, below the earth planetary system, we know there are 7 lower planetary systems. They're also called as actually heavenly pleasure opulences are there in them also, but they're filled with darkness. No sunlight comes there like that. So Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Patala, like that. So many, I don't remember all the names, but it ends with Patala, like that. So the point I want to share is, even heavenly planet or Svargaloka is also in the material universe. Even Brahma's planet, Brahmaloka, is also in the material universe, one material universe. Like that, there are so many material universe. So even in the Svargaloka, even in the Brahmaloka, there are some material miseries in there also. Material anxieties are there. But when we refer to Vaikuntha, that is beyond the material world, beyond all the material universes. High in the sky, in the spiritual sky, there are so many Vaikuntha planets. Each Vaikuntha planet has one particular form of the Lord. Is described in one of the purports by Prabhupada that depending upon how the different Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, in which hand are there like that, what kind of form Supreme Lord has. That's so different names are there for Supreme Lord in each of the Vaikuntha planet. For example, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, we know these names generally. Madhusudana, like that, several names Prabhupada gives us one of the purports in this chapter. Like that, each planet has a one particular form of the Lord, like that. But all those planets are spiritual planets, Vaikuntha planets within the spiritual world. Of course, this topic can go even further, how Vaikuntha Laika is the first level within the spiritual world. Then on top of it is Ayodhya, where Lord Rama lives. On top of it, Dwaraka, Mathura, Vrindavan, which is all part of Golaka Vrindavan area. Like that, whole spiritual world can be described. But the context for us is Vaikuntha Loka is in spiritual world, above this material world, beyond this material world. That is the point we're discussing today. Now, going to the further description of Vaikuntha Loka. Beautiful description of Vaikuntha Loka. Remember, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Our goal is to get to the highest stage of Prema, Krishna Prema. What kind of Prema? Kanta Prema. Prema like the Rajagopis of Vrindavan, like that. That is our highest aspiration. As enunciated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we hear this in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in his conversation with Ramananda Rai. That's our highest goal, is to go to Golaka Vrindavan. So when we hear the descriptions of Vaikuntha Loka, we're getting a small token appreciation of the spiritual world. And we should understand all these opulences that we're hearing in Vaikuntha Loka are there in Golaka Vrindavan also, in even a higher degree in terms of opulence, number one. Of course, Golaka Vrindavan has another special aspect, which is the sweetness aspect or the closeness aspect to Supreme Lord also, more than the opulence aspect. That's why we have all the different rasas, right? Dasya rasa as servant, Sakya rasa as a friend of Krishna, and then Vatsalya rasa as a parent of Krishna, in the parental mood towards Krishna, or in the Madhuri rasa as in the conjugal moods towards Krishna, like that. So many sweetness, sweet rasa is there also. In fact, we're all aspiring for that rasa in relationship with Krishna, more than just simple happiness. Happiness everybody can get. Of course, in material world, we get temporary happiness only for short time. But the real happiness we're seeking is in that particular rasa with Krishna, with spiritual variegatedness we'll see in this chapter. So that's how we can process this chapter when we're here in Vaikuntha Loka. We can develop appreciation for Vaikuntha and the spiritual world and understand this is just a token of the opulence we can find in Golaka Vrindavan, like that also. Okay, that is a context we can keep in mind. With that, we'll go through some more this section, how Vaikuntha is so wonderful and Vaikuntha Vasis are so wonderful like that. I couldn't get all the right pictures. I put some pictures, whatever I could find quickly. So basically, Vaikuntha men, one verse describes about Vaikuntha men, how they look similar to the Lord. Remember, we all might have heard already, short revision, that there are 5 kinds of liberation or mukti that is given in scriptures. One is the Sahajya Mukti. Sahajya Mukti is not considered a Vaishnava liberation because it's impersonal liberation, where the practitioner, not a devotee, practitioner aims to become one with the Brahmajyoti. So that is not preferred by devotees. That's not aspired for devotees. Devotees don't even want that. Because why? Primary reason is there is no service opportunity if we merge in the Brahmajyoti. That is the primary reason devotees don't like it. Of course, we know the other 4 kinds of liberation, which is Sarupya Mukti. Sarupya Mukti means Rupa, same form like the Supreme Lord. That's what is being described here. Looking similar to the Lord means same form like the Supreme Lord. What does that mean? Generally, Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha has 4-handed form. So the devotees who are living in the Vaikuntha, residents of Vaikuntha, they also have 4-handed form like that. So naturally the question can come, how can we figure out this is Supreme Lord, this is a devotee? If both are same, looking same, normally we think somebody 4 hands is special, but now everybody is special, everybody is 4-handed form. Prabhupada writes in one of the Bhagavatam purports, I think, if I remember correctly, that the 2 points that are distinguishing primarily from Supreme Lord to the devotees in the Vaikuntha, what are those? One is Supreme Lord has the Kaustuba gem in his neck, like that. In the necklace has Kaustuba necklace. And then another thing is Srivasa mark is there on the chest of the Supreme Lord also. That's sometimes described as a white hair like symbol. Sometimes it is described as like a gold kind of mark also is described. So there's a special mark, special symbol on the chest of Supreme Lord. In fact, we hear Mother Lakshmi Devi stays at the chest of Supreme Lord also. So that's a Sarupya liberation. And then there are other 3 kinds of liberations are Salokya liberation, Salokya Mukti. Salokya Mukti means staying on the same planet as the Supreme Lord like that. Then another Mukti is Samipya Mukti. That means not only on the same planet of the Lord, but staying very close to the Lord, Samipam, Samipya Mukti, like that, very close to Supreme Lord like that. Another liberation described is Sarishta Mukti. Sarishta Mukti is having the same opulence as the Supreme Lord like that. Of course, here the specific emphasis is being given to Sarupya Mukti, where many devotees have the same form with 4 hands like the Supreme Lord like that. Now, what is the specialty of these people? They're not trying to see, how can I enjoy my senses here? How can I enjoy my senses here? How can this person give me sense enjoyment? Not like that. They're always engaged in devotion service. That is because they're already purified of the material desires. That is the specialty of the Vaikuntha men described. Now, further going on to Brahmadeva describes about Vaikuntha, Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha. He says he's the original person. Original person means he's the absolute truth. From him, everybody came like that. And he is only understood through Vedic literature. What does it mean? That means Supreme Lord cannot be understood by mental speculation. Oh, Supreme Lord may be like this. Because I'm having generally some impersonalists think like this, it seems. That because I have body, I have all these problems. That means Supreme Lord should not have body. Like that. This is called neti understanding, negating what we think is not good. Supreme Lord is having opposite of that. But that is not the way of right understanding. Right understanding is through Vedic literature that is originated from Krishna himself. The Supreme Lord is given Vedic literature for us to understand through the scriptures, nature of the Supreme Lord, form of the Supreme Lord, nature of our relationship with the Supreme Lord, nature of Supreme Lord's relationship with the material nature of Prakriti. Everything we can understand through Vedic literature. Of course, to understand Vedic literature, we need the help and guidance of Guru and Sadhu, because everything literature is not easy to understand for us, because the same Vedic literature is so vast. In one place it says like this, in another place it says like this. Ordinary people like us can get confused. That's why gurus and sadhus can help us to clarify. Why is saying here like this? Why it's saying like this? How can we see two together? What is the real right thing among these two? How do you see the context? In what context is this told like this? So they can reconcile for us and they can educate us how to understand clearly like that. That way we can develop our faith more and more and engage in devotion service nicely. And the other thing described about Vaikuntha Lord is established in pure sattva. In the material world, we know we're all affected and influenced by three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Even if somebody is predominantly in goodness, like Bhagavad says, sometimes each of the mode is fighting for predominance, we say. And then let us say somebody is predominantly in goodness. Even then there is a tinge of passion and ignorance in the material world. Whereas in the spiritual world, especially in Supreme Lord, is fully in pure sattva. That means Vishuddha sattva is also another term used. That means there is no tinge of passion and ignorance at all like that. So it's a transcendental goodness, other way to describe it. And in this purport, Prabhupada also talks about how even devotees are also situated in pure sattva in the spiritual world, like Vaikuntha Lokas, like that. And then he says Supreme Lord contributes towards the religious progress for the devotees. Supreme Lord is always well-wisher for us and is always looking to help us. As long as we desire, we want to be spiritually, grow spiritually, go closer towards him, he's ready to help us, lend us his hand. We hear from devotees commonly that if we make one step, Krishna takes 10 steps or 100 steps towards us like that. So we'll get closer to him by his mercy. So the point is, even by understanding Vedic literature also, only by his mercy, only by devotion service, we can understand something about Supreme Lord. Not everything about Supreme Lord, because Supreme Lord is in himself infinite. Going to the next section. So in the same section, Lord Brahma is describing the Vaikuntha Loka beautifully. Vaikuntha Loka is saying, Vaikuntha Loka is forests in Vaikuntha Loka are very auspicious. And they have beautiful Kalpavruksha trees, desire trees. And what do? They bear flowers and fruits of all seasons. Not like mangoes will come in summer season, sitafala will come in winter season, strawberries will come in spring season, not like that. For any, they will have fruits and flowers of all seasons at any time. And they're desire trees, that means they can give anything. And the emphasis Prabhupada writes in this purport is how everything in spiritual world is spiritual and personally describes. So the point he tries to make in the purport in this section is that even trees, flowers, fruits, they also are animate. They're not inanimate, number one. They're also spiritual, they're not material. And they're personal. That means they have form like that Prabhupada describes. Supreme Lord also has a form. Supreme Lord is not impersonal, Prabhupada writes in the purport for this. Now going to the next Vaikuntha couples he describes, Brahmadeva is describing. To whom? Brahmadeva is describing to the demigods now. And this is the conversation that Maitreya Muni is describing to Vidura. So now Brahmadeva is describing to demigods, saying that in Vaikuntha Loka, the couples, they fly in private airplanes. And these airplanes, I don't know, it comes in a different verse, but these airplanes are very opulent. They're made with gold. I think it comes later on also. They made with gold and bedecked with a lot of jewels, special jewels like that. And they're traveling with their concerts. That means their wives like that. And then what are they doing? They're constantly glorifying the faultless Supreme Lord like that. So this is the point. So this section of these three verses is focusing on glorifying Krishna, Harikatha, glorifying Krishna like that. That is the focus of this section. So they're glorifying Krishna regularly. So constantly, not even regularly, constantly like that. Number one. Number two, when they're glorifying like that, Supreme Lord like that, they get a beautiful fragrance of Madhavi flowers, it seems. Madhavi flowers, I've not seen them, but Prabhupada discussed in the purport also. Apparently, they have transcendental fragrance, it seems. And they have such a wonderful fragrance that is so happy. It can give so much joy for somebody who's smelling that fragrance. But they think these devotees in the Vaikunta, they're thinking they give more importance to Kirtana, glorification of Supreme Lord, than enjoying that beautiful smell that is coming from Madhavi flowers. Number one point Prabhupada makes. And that point he makes is, for them, uh, the serving the Supreme Lord is the most important priority. So, and it gives so much transcendental pleasure. We talk about higher taste. So they have so much transcendental pleasure with the higher taste in serving Krishna already, that they don't even think about enjoying this sense gratification by smelling this beautiful fragrance of the flower like that. And not only that, they're not only interested in smelling, they think that is obstructing their service of glorifying Krishna. That means this distraction for them to glorify Krishna. In Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada gives similar example in describing about Daruka, who is a servant of Krishna. Daruka is fanning Supreme Lord, and during that time, he gets ecstatic symptoms. So then, suddenly, he checks his ecstatic symptoms because he doesn't want his ecstasy to impact his service of fanning to Supreme Lord like that. So similarly here, they don't want the beautiful fragrance of Madhavi flowers distract them from their service of glorifying Supreme Lord like that. That is a great service platform they are in. So we are also aspiring for that great platform of service, constant service to Supreme Lord, free from sense gratification, free from material desires like that. So that is possible by hearing Krishna Katha and by sharing Krishna Katha, or even by hearing Krishna's holy name, by chanting Krishna's holy name like that. That is a way, that is a secret for us also to get to that platform in one day, someday. That is a secret for all of us that Acharya has shared with us. Now going to the Vaikunta birds. In Vaikunta, now he describes the glories of Vaikunta birds. Remember, birds in Vaikunta are also spiritual. So Vaikunta birds, what is happening to them? They don't have any envy. Apparently, the beautiful birds like peacocks, cuckoo birds, parrots who can sing sweetly, they stop their own singing when bumblebee wants to hum, buzz, like that. Bumblebee wants to make a sound to glorify Krishna through Krishna Katha. So when bumblebee is trying to glorify Harikatha, even though for mundane ears for like us, it feels like buzz is not so great compared to sweet kokila sound or parrots singing like that. Parrots don't think like that. Cuckoo birds don't think like that. Peacocks don't think like that. Even though they're beautiful in terms of look, beautiful in terms of their sound and singing, they stop and give the opportunity to the bumblebees so that he can glorify Krishna like that. So that is showing two things. One is there's no competition for them. The competition is only how to please Krishna more and more, not about how I can only please God, others should not please Lord. Not like that. They don't have that feelings of envy and unnecessary competition like that. In fact, they're encouraging others to do their service to Supreme Lord like that. And they're happy to do service in some other way that they can do in their capacity, in their allotted service by their superiors in the spiritual world. Because even in spiritual world, we are under the guidance of some superior devotee only always. So they will guide us. They'll give a particular service. We do that particular service nicely. Krishna is pleased. Not like we need to do some other person's service nicely like that. So that's so Prabhupada writes in this purport that hearing and chanting are very prominent in the Vaikuntha world like that. So that is about birds in Vaikuntha Loka, how they're encouraging bumblebee also in their service like that. So now Vaikuntha planets. In the Vaikuntha plants is describing. Similarly, how we talked about the birds having no competition and no envy. Similarly, plants are also like that. How? For example, beautiful flowers are there in the spiritual world. It seems there are verses that describe mandaki flowers, and then jasmine, lotus, different flowers are mentioned. All those flowers are very transcendently fragrant. It seems and then there are different sizes, different number of petals, different beautifully they look, it seems. Still, they give respect to Tulsi Devi, Tulsi flower. Remember, the Tulsi plant has small manjaris that come. Manjari comes along with the two leaves next to them, each of them. And that is considered like a Tulsi flower, it seems. So, even though that's not so beautiful to look at compared to other flowers like lotus flowers, for example, not so beautifully fragrant compared to other flowers. Of course, Gauranga Prabhu was describing that in the morning time, even Tulsi emanates nice fragrance, it seems, and that is appreciated by those who are elevated in their consciousness, Gauranga Prabhu describes. So like that, even though externally Tulsi is not as beautiful as other flowers like that, as fragrant as other flowers like that, but they still respect Tulsi for two things. One is the devotion service, the austerities that Tulsi performed, number one. Number two, the special position that Supreme Lord has for Tulsi. Supreme Lord finds Tulsi so dear to him that he wears the Tulsi garland in his neck. Recognizing that she's so dear to Krishna, they don't become envious. They encourage Tulsi, it seems. Instead of, they put Tulsi in the front before the Supreme Lord like that. So Prabhupada emphasizes in the purport that there's no envy in the spiritual world like that. And then Prabhupada also writes practical instructions for us that we should water Tulsi daily and collect leaves to worship the Lord. Tulsi leaves to worship the Lord daily, like that he describes. So, of course, in the morning program that Prabhupada gave, we also recite beautiful prayers to Tulsi, offer obeisances to Tulsi, and we also circumambulate Tulsi. They are all part of our devotion service. In fact, these prayers to Tulsi Devi are, we're praying for with highest aspirations to go to make us resident of Vrindavan, to make us be able to see the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, like that, very, very high aspirations. That is a glorious position of Tulsi, who can bestow such great position for us, residence in Vrindavan. Normally, many people find it hard to even go to Vrindavan because of so many reasons. But even if you go to Vrindavan, many of us don't have the opportunity to stay in Vrindavan for a long time. So, but Tulsi can give us that opportunity like that. Now going on, the Vaikuntha airplanes are described as very, very opulent with so many jewels, lapis lazuli, emerald and gold like that. And then men are traveling in those great airplanes, but they're not become mad of the opulence of airplanes. And they have the private chartered jets and they're traveling along with their beautiful women in the Vaikuntha, it seems. In fact, in the next verse also is described, Vaikuntha women are described gloriously in this chapter. They described in the Earth planet itself, we can find beautiful women. Beautiful than that are women in the heavenly planets, in the material world. Beautiful than that are the women in the spiritual world, like that is described. And they're so beautiful that even though they have their association, men have their association, they are so absorbed in Krishna and in Krishna Katha, in Krishna's service mood, that they are not stimulated. Um, beautiful women cannot stimulate passion in them, it is described. And Prabhupada also writes, that means they are going together with their wives in the concerts in the airplane. That means they have association of opposite sex, but they don't have any sexual relationship. Why? Because they're already enjoying highest pleasure and bliss by being absorbed in Krishna's service like that. That's why this is nothing for them. They don't even care for this sexual happiness. Whereas in the material world, we think that is the highest happiness in materially we have. But we find as we grow in devotion service, we can actually grow beyond that sexual happiness. So that is a practice we are cultivating, and our acharyas practically realized that and practically went beyond that happiness like that. So that is a key aspect we can learn from here. So if we are suffering from any kind of sense enjoyment, whether it's sexual enjoyment or something else, one of the key thing is we need to Tivra Bhakti. By doing Tivra Bhakti, by observing ourselves in Krishna, we can easily overcome the lower tendencies. There is we briefly discussed last week also on this topic, having a higher purpose initially, and then higher task later on will help us to go beyond sense gratification also like that. So the key here is Vaikuntha men are absorbed in Krishna, even though they are surrounded by so many opulences like that. That is the key point here. Now, Vaikuntha women. Vaikuntha women, we already described how they are very, very beautiful like that. And that is compared even to goddess of fortune, as beautiful as Lakshmi. So in this purport, Prabhupada writes something wonderful. Basically, he talks about Brahma Samhita verse, like how Brahma Samhita verse talks about there are thousands of goddess of fortune that are serving Krishna in the spiritual world, like that Lord Brahma describes, right? That he refers to this, and he says not only these goddess of fortunes are not only consorts of Supreme Lord, but even the wives of devotees are also like goddess of fortune, and they are serving the Supreme Lord in different ways, like that is described by Prabhupada in the purport. And what do? They don't want to, they're so beautiful, they just don't want to enjoy with the Supreme Lord. Their mood is, I want to do some menial service for Supreme Lord by sweeping the marble walls of the palaces in Vaikuntha, so that I'll get some mercy, some grace of the Supreme Lord. That is the humble mood there. Lakshmi Devi is situated in Vaikuntha Loka like that. That is their mood. So similarly, we should also aspire for service mood towards Supreme Lord and mercy of the Supreme Lord, instead of trying to, when can I see Supreme Lord so I can be happy, I can be free of problems. Not like that. We can also cultivate the service attitude, seeing the example of Vaikuntha woman like that. Now, this section of Vaikuntha is concluded by Brahmadev by talking about three aspects, like who cannot go to Vaikuntha and who can go to Vaikuntha, and then why is this human form of life best thing for us, so we can go back to Vaikuntha like that. So he starts with who cannot enter Vaikuntha. He says those people who are very unfortunate, who don't want to hear Krishna Katha, who don't want to hear about Vaikuntha descriptions, they are the most unfortunate. In fact, impersonalists, Prabhupada writes in the purport, impersonalists are most unfortunate because they think in Vaikuntha all the spiritual variegatedness is material. So they don't want to hear about it. That is why if somebody doesn't want to hear Krishna Katha, they are most unfortunate. And what do instead? They hear Prajalpa, they hear mundane topics, and which are only harmful for them. They will bewilder their intelligence, and they take away their good fortune of going back to spiritual world, and they degrade them gradually to go back to hell. So the importance of Harikatha is glorified here. Importance of hearing Harikatha is glorified here. So now, if we don't hear Harikatha and do something else, then we are not going to Vaikuntha or spiritual world for that matter. Now, going to the importance of human form, Brahma says even demigods desire human birth because that is the best place to attain perfect religious truth and knowledge. Purport Prabhupada writes this beautiful analogy where he compares to this material world to be like a material ocean of nations, and then the human body is like the boat in the ocean to cross over the material ocean to go to spiritual world. And the spiritual master is the captain of the boat. That means how do we conduct in this body? How do we practice devotion service? Spiritual master helps us with that. And then information from the scriptures are like the favorable wind for the boat to go nicely towards its destination. Like that, we are going towards our destination of spiritual world, where Captain Spiritual Master is guiding us nicely, our human life. And then the favorable instructions from the scriptures are guiding us like a favorable wind to float over the ocean of distance without floating, without submerging in the ocean like that. So that is the importance of our human form of life, to take up devotion service and go back to spiritual world. In another section, Prabhupada also refers, I think it's in second canto, if I remember correctly, somewhere in second canto, another reason also is mentioned, like demigods, they have lots of enjoyment available in their disposition. So it's very hard for them to focus on spiritual life. It requires a lot more determination, and they don't have too much problems. So it's very hard for them to focus on devotion service also. Whereas the human form of life, especially if you're practicing devotee, we have some happiness, some distress like that also. So because of this, we're constantly reminded, oh, I need to cultivate devotion service. This is not a permanent place. Like that is by design, it's made like that. So that's why it's easy to go back to spiritual world by taking seriously devotion service like that in earthly planets, in human form. So he says a human who does not understand Supreme Lord and its abode is completely bewildered by Lord's Maya. So if we don't take this opportunity, then what will happen is Maya will influence us, will be completely bewildered, will be powdered with Maya, like Gauranga Darshan Prabhu says, by lots of problems, will not have any time for anything spiritual. If we desire to be enjoying only like that in the material world. Now, who can enter Vaikunta? He says, devotees. So this is a wonderful purport actually. This section talks about how when we are constantly hearing Krishna Katha, number one, and when we chant the holy name offenselessly, then what will happen? Then whenever we chant the holy name, we'll get the ecstatic symptoms. We'll cry for the Lord. We'll get ecstatic symptoms in our body like that. Not artificially we practice them, but we should try to avoid the offenses. So in this purport, Prabhupada writes all the 10 offenses and it describes them, how we should avoid the 10 offenses in the chanting the holy name like that. So that's the important thing we need to follow. That means we need to follow the positive process of chanting the holy name, and we should avoid the negatives related to offenses in chanting the holy name. So then if we can do that, then we can grow in chanting Shuddhana, finally to Shuddhanama without any offenses of holy name. Then we can become eligible to go back to Vaikuntha Loka. And this can happen, this chanting nicely and more quantity wise, quality wise can happen, and avoiding offenses can happen when we have the proper knowledge from Guru Sadhu Shastra. Then we know, oh, spiritual master is not an ordinary person. Spiritual master is extraordinary. He is a representative of Supreme Lord. I should treat him like Supreme Lord. Oh, holy name is not ordinary. Holy name is non-different from Supreme Lord. We'll get all this knowledge by reading scriptures, by hearing sadhu from Guru and Sadhu, like that. That's so we can improve our chanting without offenses and go back to spiritual world. So basically, by Shravanam and Kirtanam, we can ensure our path to Vaikuntha, our spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan, is assured for us. And this other point Prabhupada makes in the purport is that by devotion service, by serving Krishna, we can develop all the wonderful qualities that everybody desires. All the 26 qualities of devotee mentioned, Prabhupada enumerates all of them in the purport. So the key point to note is we need to develop that desire to serve Krishna, desire to please Krishna more and more. When we develop that desire, we understand what is pleasing to Krishna, and then we try to develop those qualities for Krishna's pleasure. And they will come by devotion service. Because let us say I want to please Krishna, I hear, oh, Krishna likes when there's no envy between devotees. Krishna likes when we cooperate between devotees. Krishna likes when we encourage devotees. Then, okay, I will encourage devotees because I want to please Krishna. Then, like that, we'll grow in devotion service. So the key is develop that aspiration to please Krishna. How does that come? By chanting regularly, nicely, and by hearing regularly. Through that, our desire will become stronger and stronger and stronger like that. I want to please Krishna like that. Then we'll develop all the good qualities like that. So going to the next section, Kumaras. Now, remember, Brahma came to a point saying that Kumaras came to the Vaikuntha Loka, and then he started to describe the whole description of Vaikuntha Loka. Now, after completing that, he resumes what happened after Kumaras went to Vaikuntha Loka. He described, first of all, that Kumaras came to Vaikuntha Loka by the power of Yoga Maya. This is a common doubt some devotees, some people may have, that, but Prabhupada clarifies in the purport, even by practicing yoga, the highest objective is not to control senses and mind. Highest objective is not to get better sense gratification with yoga. Higher objective is to go back to spiritual world. With the practice of yoga, proper yoga, yogi can travel all the way up to Vaikuntha Loka also, Prabhupada describes in the purport. So that is the power of Yoga Maya. Another point Prabhupada makes is, in the spiritual world, Yogamaya, which is the internal energy of Supreme Lord, can make everything possible like that, Prabhupada writes in purport. So, interestingly, these Kumaras who are looking like children, they pass through all the 6 gates without thinking, without looking at beautiful decorations at the 6 gates, it seems. Why? Because they're so eager, they want to see the Supreme Lord, it seems. That's how Prabhupada describes. That's why they're going through without observing anything. This is a common phenomenon we can also observe, right? When we're eager to meet somebody or when we're eager to do something, then we don't care about much of anything else. We just focused on going there like that. That's what is described. But when they reached the final 7th gate, they saw 2 doorkeepers at the 7th gate. And they were appearing little agitated, it seems, by their facial expressions, it seems. So they were, even though they're appearing 5-year-old, they were very, very old. They were oldest people for that matter, even older than Narada, older than Lord Shiva, like that, because they all were born from Brahma, right? They're firstborn sons of Brahma. They were also self-realized, but Jaya and Vijaya blocked their way. Is described displaying a nature displeasing to the Lord. What does this mean? Prabhupada clarifies to us. Supreme Lord always loves his Brahmanas. We know Nama Brahmane Deva, Go Brahmanitacha, right? Supreme Lord loves his devotees. But without understanding that, Jaya and Vijaya blocked them like that. Then naturally Kumaras became angry because they did not become angry that somebody did not let them do what they want to do, that somebody came in the way of their sense gratification. That is not the reason for their anger. The reason for anger is they want to serve the Supreme Lord. They want to see the Supreme Lord like that. Something blocking their service, that is what made them angry, like that Prabhupada clarifies the purport. So now the Kumaras start to curse the Jaya Vijaya, saying that where is the possibility of enemy coming in the Vaikuntha Loka? Maybe you are an imposter. That's why you're thinking others are also like you. There's complete harmony in Vaikuntha Loka. How come you got this fear that these guys are might do something wrong? So we should give you apt punishment. Apt punishment. That means correct punishment. What is the apt punishment? Why are they thinking? That they want to give a punishment for what they've done now, but to rectify them and also to finally benefit them ultimately. So this is the greatness of saintly personalities. They're not taking revenge. Oh, you stopped me? Now I'll see what I can do with you. Not like that. They want to give them the ultimate benefit also. So with that in mind, they want to give a curse to them. And they say, you go to the material world where there are 3 enemies, lust, anger, and greed, like that. But in the purports described, Kumaras angrily cursing the devotees of Supreme Lord is a Vaishnava aparadha also. They had to face that consequence later on. Even though they see the Supreme Lord later on, they get to become devotees. They only get up to Santa Rasa, Santa devotees only. They cannot get to Dasya Rasa devotees like that. That is the impact of Vaishnava aparadha. So this is a alarm call for us. Vaishnava aparadha is very serious. Supreme Lord is very dear to devotees, and devotees are dear to Supreme Lord. So any offense we make to Supreme Lord can cost a lot for us for a long time, including to our perfection of our life, like that. That is the important principle we can learn from here. So then Jaya Vijaya, when the Kumaras cursed, they became fearful. Then they immediately fell at the lotus feet of Kumaras. Please forgive us. We made a mistake. But notice how they are asking. They don't say, you take back your curse. They say, oh, we accept punishment because we neglected to respect sages like you. So we definitely need to have punishment for sure. But show some compassion for us that we'll not forget the Lord under illusion. This is another beautiful principle we need to learn. That devotees don't care even if they go to hell. Devotees don't care even if they have difficulties, lot of difficulties. But they don't want to forget devotion service. They don't want to forget Supreme Lord. They don't want to get into Maya again like that. That is what they're requesting. They're not requesting, make sure our life is very comfortable. Not like that. They're not asking that. They're asking, make sure we don't forget the Lord, please, like that. That's what they're asking. So, so now that is the section. So now they curse the Kumaras, curse the Jaya Vijaya, and Jaya Vijaya was seeking forgiveness from them, to asking them not to make them forget the Supreme Lord like that. So this is the last section. After this we can end. So in this section, what happens is Supreme Lord personally arrives towards the gate of the seventh gate of the Vaikuntha Loka. And he not only comes alone, he comes with the Lakshmi Devi. Why did he come? There are several reasons described. One is Kumaras felt, oh my God, we offended, we cursed the doorkeepers. Through that, we offended Supreme Lord also. They're feeling little humility in their heart, it seems. Number one. Number two, doorkeepers are also thinking, oh my God, we offended these Brahmanas. So Supreme Lord will not be pleased with us. Like that they're feeling. So they got some humility in the heart, number one. And number two, because of their bhakti, it attracted the Supreme Lord to come there. That is the second reason. And third reason given is that Supreme Lord wants to give Kumaras were earlier Jnanis, it seems. That means they're on the path of Jnana, not the bhakti. So for them, he wanted to give the bliss of seeing his own personal Swarupa form and seeing Lakshmi Devi like that. He wants to show the bliss of seeing the personal form of the Lord. In fact, this is the great benefit for us as devotees, because we can develop attachment for the personal form of the Lord. Through that, we can develop detachment for other things. So he wants to give that experience to the Kumaras, it seems. And then other reason is he wants to avoid further fighting between Kumaras and doorkeepers, it seems, Jaya and Vijaya, like that. So that situation doesn't go even further damaged like that. That's why he comes here. And when he comes, Supreme Lord comes there, Kumaras directly see the beautiful form of the Lord with his devotees. And then is described, Supreme Lord is, with every act, Supreme Lord does multiple things, right? So with his pleasing face, he pacified Kumaras, it seems. And with his affectionate glance, he pacified the Jaya and Vijaya. Because both were worried, what will happen to us like that. And then Kumaras, in the meantime, if you see in the picture, Supreme Lord's lotus feet has tulasi with sandalwood paste on the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. And this Kumara is observing very carefully at the lotus feet of Supreme Lord. So basically, with the fragrance that came from the aroma of that tulsi that is there on the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, that went into the nostrils of Kumaras, they immediately got transformed into devotees, it seems. But like I described, they became only Santa Bhaktas and not Dasya Bhakta because of their offense to Jaya and Vijaya, like that is described. In this section, prayers is also one more section. In this section, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also describes that another reason this incident, there are two other reasons that are behind this curse of the Jaya and Vijaya by Kumaras. One reason is Jaya and Vijaya, being the devotees of the Supreme Lord, they wanted to give a good fight to the Supreme Lord. And that's possible in the material world. So in the Veera Rasa, like that, they want to give good fight to Supreme Lord to please him, like that. That is one reason described by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Another reason described is, and some time ago, Jaya and Vijaya did not allow Lakshmi Devi personally to go into Vaikuntha Loka, it seems, to see Supreme Lord. When Supreme Lord said, don't allow anybody to come when I'm resting, like that. So it's a Leela, of course. Then Supreme Lord wanted to show to Lakshmi Devi, see, I'm making sure, because they trouble you, I'm making sure that they're getting punishment, like that, it seems. That's how Vishwanath Chakravarti describes it also. So that is the other reasons described. And then the final section is beautiful prayers by Kumaras after they became devotees. Basically, they say, your transcendental form that we're seeing cannot be understood by anything else other than your mercy, which only comes by doing bhakti, like that he describes. By doing bhakti without any interest in material life, without any interest in material sense gratification, like that. So that is the point that, and they also indicating, it seems indirectly, that only by your mercy we became devotees, like that. They're appreciating the Supreme Lord. And then they're saying, because your surrendered devotees are immersed in Krishna Katha, by experiencing taste of hearing Krishna Katha, they don't even consider mukti or liberation to be useful for them. They don't want even that. Forget about even heavenly happiness. They don't even care about that, like that. And they only want hearing Krishna Katha and your service, like that. And then they express their aspirations. So when we hear devotees' aspirations, those are nice to us. So that can cultivate our heart also to develop those aspirations. What they say, even if we go to hellish planets, doesn't matter. But we want our minds, words, and ears to be engaged in your service. Our mind should be always engaged in your service. Our words should glorify you always. And our ears, we should hear about your Krishna Katha always like that. So the point here Prabhupada emphasizes, even hell with bhakti is preferable compared to getting liberation, but no bhakti, no service. We want devotional service. That is the best thing we can do. So then they offer respects to supreme eternal form of the Lord. And they say, we're very, very fortunate that you're manifested before us and you satisfy our mind and vision like that. So that is the essence of this chapter. Essentially, we heard how demigods approached Lord Brahma because of the darkness spread in the world due to the two sons in the womb of Aditi, not Aditi, Diti. And then Brahma described about beautiful Vaikuntha Loka and the beautiful consciousness of Vaikuntha Vasis. And then we heard about how Kumaras met Jaya and Vijaya and they cursed Jaya and Vijaya and the exchange between both of them and the humility they exhibited finally, and how Supreme Lord personally arrived and gave darshana to the four Kumaras and pacified both of them with nice sweet words also. We didn't have so much time to describe that. With sweet words, he'll pacify both of them. And then finally, Kumaras offer praise to Supreme Lord, appreciating the greatness of Supreme Lord, and also appreciating the greatness of Bhakti, and also appreciating their great fortune, and they aspire to be always in devotional service. So that is the conclusion of this chapter. I'll pause there so that anybody has any comments or corrections or questions, we can discuss further. Sorry, I went like 10 minutes over, looks like.
No, Prabhu.
Yes,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. Thank you so much. It was really beautiful. Such a beautiful class. Prabhuji, I really loved the class. I like the description of Vaikuntha and all the details that you were mentioning. Some things that I really liked is how even the birds do not have envy, and how the Kumaras are telling, how did this envy come upon you, to Jaya Vijaya? And two things. One is the Vaishnava Aparad, in one sense, that the Kumaras are doing, and the Aparad done by Jaya Vijaya to a Brahmana. So both of these are very nicely weighted out by the Lord, and how the Lord actually gives us mercy equally to everybody. That's the beauty of the Lord. So
Yeah.
such a beautiful explanation, Prabhu. Love the explanation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. I think Parampavani Shyam Mataji, you had some comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I have a question that, for example, in Vaikuntha Loka, there are Vaikuntha couples are there, like they are so engrossed and in serving Krishna there, in thought of Krishna, that they do not have mutual attraction. So means, can they aspire to serve to go to Golok from Vaikuntha? Like also you mentioned that all the Vaikuntha women, they are so humbly serving, like doing menial work just to get the grace of Krishna. So does they aspire? Do they aspire to go to Golok from Vaikuntha?
Got it, Mataji. I will share my understanding of it, and other devotees can share their understanding. They may know more than me. So my understanding is like this, Mataji, what I heard from devotees, that 2 points. One point is that whatever, we all have a swarupa, we all have a constitutional position, and we all have a particular rasa with Krishna already. So when we achieve that spiritual position, or original spiritual position, then we're so happy and blissful in that rasa that we don't even aspire for any other rasa beyond it. Even though for practical purposes, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita describes how Santarasa is lower, Dasarasa higher, Sakyarasa is higher, Vatsalarasa is higher, and Madhurasa is higher, like that. Even though all that description is given, but still is clearly mentioned many times, Prabhupada, whenever the topic comes up. We are, whatever position we achieve, we're very, very, very happy in that position. We don't even want anything better than that, anything different than that, like that. We don't consider anything better than that, like that. That is one thing I heard from devotees constantly. Second thing is, because of this, so when we go to Vaikuntha Loka, why are we going to Vaikuntha Loka first of all? Because of the mood of our worship, the mood of our relationship that we develop for Krishna. So if I have the a mood of opulently worship Krishna, worshiping Supreme Lord in that opulent way, in Aishwarya Bhava, like that, even in perfection stage. Now that is a recommended practice right now in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. But if I continue like that, then even from Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, we can go to Bhava, Prema, like that, also achieve perfection. Then we'll go to Vaikuntha Loka. So then we're happy in that stage also. But so that is why at this, in the current, that is second point I know. And that means as a practicing devotee currently right now for us, we have a opportunity to take up the devotion service as initiated by our acharyas, starting with Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti right now. So then slowly, gradually, with our Guru's mercy, Guru's permission, we can elevate ourselves to Raga Bhakti. And then we have opportunity to go to Golok Vrindavan, like that now. But Vaikuntavatis themselves, my understanding is they may not have any aspiration to go to Golok Vrindavan because they're already happy. Even though they're aspiring for grace of the Supreme Lord, that aspiring for grace of the Supreme Lord is not fruitive. I want to go to Golok Vrindavan, that's why I want your mercy. Not like that. That is only to please the Supreme Lord. That's their mode. That is my understanding. I will request any other senior devotees or any other devotees, if you heard something on this context, please share also. That will help.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Welcome. Mate.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam, Srimad Prabhupada.
Thank
Prabhuji, you said that Diti had the twins because of having sex in the inauspicious time. So does it mean that whoever is having the twins, it means that they might have had it in inauspicious time?
Okay, got it. Yeah, sorry, I was summarizing so briefly that it came to the wrong conclusion. I will elaborate briefly. The topic was discussed elaborately last week, so that's why I'm summarizing quickly. That's not what I meant. What happened is, because of having the union at the inappropriate time, inauspicious time, she got children who are demoniac in nature. That much we can conclude, Mataji. Not that
Okay.
they will have twins and twins are inauspicious always, not like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Oh,
Because
welcome, Mataji.
of your this thing, even I also got confused and I was thinking it is nowhere mentioned. So I just wanted to ask you the reference for that. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you asked clarification, Mataji. That gave me opportunity to clarify so that it helps others also. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Sundaranand Prabhu, thank you so much for such a beautiful class. As usual, your class is very nice. You come up with a previous chapter summary, not only previous chapter, the canto until where we are, so that we understand the sequence and you explain everything very detailed, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Very grateful to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Bharat Prabhuji, go ahead, Prabhuji. Oh, somebody had a comment.
Prabhuji, I have one more question. I'll come back later.
Okay, sure, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a nice class, Prabhuji. Dandvat Pranam. So, Prabhuji, my question is like that, as you told about the Salokya, Sarupe, all this. So, like Salokya Mukti, having the same residence as that of Lord. So, if people desire to go to Vrindavan or Mayapur Dham and stay there and do their sadhana, all the devotional service. So, is it that a Salokya Mukti?
Oh no, that is in this world you're talking about, right? In this
Yes,
middle world.
Prabhuji.
In this
Yes,
middle world, that is not
Bom
Salokya Mukti.
Vrindavan.
Yeah, that is not Salokya Mukti. This is talking about the perfectional stage when we go back to spiritual world. That is that is state is described, Prabhuji. In this
But like
time,
Prabhuji,
Hmm.
from here, from this point of view that we are living, so here, Salokya Mukti stands here. Means we are going to Vrindavan, staying there for our whole lifetime and doing bhajan.
uh-huh,
In terms of our level, means if we say that Vaikunt is fine, like that is the Salokya, the Vaikunt lok.
uh-huh.
After passing this life, we wish to go there. But in the present life, we are staying in Vrindavan, doing bhajan over. So will it be considered Salokya Mukti?
I never heard anyone describe like that, and so I of course I did limited reading only myself. In my reading so far, I not come across anywhere Prabhupada or Acharyas writing that that within middle world when we go to Vrindavan, it's called as Salokya Mukti. I never heard like that, Prabhuji. But it's a good thing for our devotion service, because any devotion service performed in holy place like Madhura, we know Madhura and Vrindavan will have manifold benefit, and we can progress very quickly. That much I heard. I don't know if anybody else on the call heard anything in this context. Please share also. Heard or read anything like that.
Maybe Prabhuji, my question may be wrong. I'm not exactly right. Means as
Ah,
you also have not heard, you are more experienced than me. Maybe I am not at right approach. It may be possible.
yeah, if you like to rephrase it in different way, maybe I did not get the question. That's also we can do. Did the question is your question that when we go to stay in Vrindavan here, is
Yes.
that called Salukya Mukti? Is that your question? Or when we go stay in Vrindavan, will we get Salukya Mukti later on or something like that?
Nee, going there means Salokya is having the desire to reside in the planet of the Lord. So only desire, like we are residing over there. We get the opportunity, mercy of devotee to live in Vrindavan. So
Yeah.
this thing, so it is a pure devotional service or a mukti. Like mukti is lower than devotion, pure devotional service.
Okay. Yes. The 2 points correct. Yeah. No. If the example of practicing devotee going to Vrindavan to do devotion service, that's definitely higher platform than any kind of mukti. Correct. Because mukti is described in nectar of devotion, that mukti stands at the door for a devotee. Mukti, please have me like that. But devotee says, I don't want. I want service of Krishna like that. That's higher. Like that's the right understanding, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, actually, when Chatukumaras were passing all the 6 gates of Vaikuntha, they also had many Dwarpalakas. That is what Prabhupada writes in the purport.
Yeah.
But none of them, they stop Chaturkumaras.
Correct. Exactly. None of them stopped. The way Prabhupada writes in the purport is that normally when children go everywhere, nobody stops them. So like that, saintly persons, when they go everywhere, we're not meant to stop them like that. Like that. So he doesn't say whether the gatekeepers in the 6 gates consider them like children or consider them like saintly persons. But in either case, they did not stop them, basically, like that Prabhupada describes. Make sense? Yeah.
Prabhu.
Yeah, he
And,
doesn't describe how they considered it, he doesn't describe, yeah. Yes,
and Prabhupada writes that when Bhagavad Gita 15.6 says, Na nivartante taddama paramamana. Once we go to the Vaikuntha, we never return back. But Chaturkumaras, they went to the 7th door, but they returned. But Prabhupada writes that they never entered into the 7th door, so because of that, they returned. So, but actually to circumambulate Mahavishnu and Lakshmi, didn't they go inside the 7th gate to, take their pradakshina?
Okay. Yeah. You saying that, I don't remember that particular quote you're saying. Prabhupada writes that because they did not go into 7th gate, that's where they fall down, like that Prabhupada writes?
No, Prabhupada writes that they returned to their Brahmaloka, somewhere where their father was there. So they returned there only because whoever enters into Vaikuntha, they never return. That is what Krishna's promise. But they return after going to Vaikuntha because they never enter into the seventh gate. That is the explanation gives Prabhupada in the purport. But later on, they take the finally they take the pradakshina of Mahavishnu and then Lakshmi and then return. So in the picture, when I see or whenever we see, they Mahalakshmi and Vishnu, they were there inside the seventh gate of the Vaikuntha, and they just go inside to take the pradakshin and they come. So whether they go inside and take pradakshin and come, or Mahavishnu, when he approaches the door, whether he comes out of the door.
Okay. That is clear, right? In the chapter, that portion is clear, that Mahavishnu comes to the door. That is clear for us. I don't remember the specific reference you're talking about. I don't remember. If you remember the purport, you can look at it also. But Mahavishnu definitely comes.
I'll later on, I'll post it in the group.
Okay, sure. Yeah, got it. Mahavishnu definitely comes to the door, Mataji. That is one thing. That is sure. And then other aspect is some statements like, for example, Durvasa Muni. We hear of Ambrish Maharaj pastime, right? Ambrish Maharaj pastime. Durvasa Muni goes all the way to Vaikuntha Loka also. But then he is not a Vaikuntha Vasi. Yeah?
Yeah, he returns.
Yeah. So, so we cannot take the statement. My understanding is not like you enter one time, then you cannot go. It's not exactly like that. My understanding, Mataji. When I asked this question, how come Durvasa Muni was able to enter Vaikuntha Loka first of all? Like that, I asked the question to Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj one time. Then the way he answered is, it's like having a visa. You can only go for a short-term visit, but he cannot stay permanently in Vaikuntha. Like that he said. So basically, my point is that we cannot take it as just because I entered, I put my leg inside the Vaikuntha, I cannot come out like that. Not like that. But he means that somebody who's qualified to get into Vaikuntha, when they reach the Vaikuntha, they don't come down. That is the point Bhagavad Gita is saying, Krishna is saying. Somebody is fully qualified to stay in the Vaikuntha Loka, then they can stay there. That's my understanding. Yeah, if somebody has a comment also, please share. Anybody, other devotees also. But I will look at the purport that you're talking about also, Mataji, to see why.
Yes, Prabhuji, it is there. I do remember that.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Yeah, Prabhupada wrote something about that like that. Yeah.
Yes, and I think I'll forward it post it in the group, because I cannot post, but I can post it to. Are you there in the group, Prabhuji?
Yeah, I'm there in the group. I'll also send you my phone number if that helps. In the chat, I sent you. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I will just take the screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Once again, it's getting late.
Sure.
Bhavana Mataji, is that your answer? You got your answer, or you have another?
No, Mataji, I didn't ask.
Okay. Okay, but Prabhu, is that you want to take it, or it's getting late? I don't know for you. It's EST time.
Yeah, for me it's okay, Mataji. Your call. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. For
Okay.
me, no problem, Prabhu.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure you have time. Okay, Bhavana Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for such a nice description of Vaikuntha Loka you shared. You help us to take us to Vaikuntha by sitting in this home, Prabhuji, my question is the Chatur Kumar did Vaishnava Aparadh against Jay and Vijay, but then also they get the mercy of Lord, like they get the darshan of Lord. So how to understand this, Prabhuji?
Yeah, our acharyas, whenever circumstances like this arise, our acharyas explain that when these circumstances come, we need to see Krishna is so merciful that is going beyond the call of duty, beyond our qualification, beyond what we are doing as service, and is giving him extra mercy like that. Krishna is always ready to forget the faults, forget the mistakes, and see the positive things like that. So, for example, in Putana pastime, you might have heard. In Putana pastime, Krishna doesn't see that Putana came to kill him. Krishna sees, oh, she taught me like a baby. She fed me her milk. So let me give her position of being a mother in spiritual world like that. Like that, in that context, Acharya is explained. Krishna, in this case, normally we hear in Krishna consciousness, Krishna sees our intention more than our action, like that we hear, right? In the case of Putana, our action is bad and intention is bad also. Action is to kill, intention is also to kill. Still, Krishna gave mercy, special mercy like that. So that's how we can see, Mate, whenever circumstances come in any leelas like that. Make sense?
But Prabhuji, like when any person do something wrong against Lord, then he give his mercy. But when a person do something wrong against his devotee, Lord's devotee, then Lord did not forgive that person. So in that scenario, Chatur Kumar make an offense against the Jay and Vijay, that are the pure devotees of Lord in Vaikuntha Lok. So I'm asking that context to understand.
Got it. In this case, Prabhupada's purport talks about genuine repentance and humility that rose in the heart of the Kumaras. In this case, that is one explanation I can think about, Mataji. That definitely is a big mistake to do any Vaishnava to devotees, any devotees for that matter, not only pure devotees, but repentance also helps. Repentance and seeking forgiveness also helps. That's the other thing we know about it, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Okay. So if there are no more questions, we can end the call here. Thank you once again, Prabhu. You are very busy, but still you took up the class today. Very grateful to you. I would like to offer my obeisances to Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhye evacha patidanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Sundaranand Prabhuji ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.